question of the ages is, what is protective motorcycle clothing and do I need it? In my honest opinion, yes. Why should you take my word for it, though? You just met me. So let's break this down with some scientific facts about protective riding gear, shall we? Without wearing the proper gear, the rider faces the following risks of injuries. Head injuries. The likelihood of sustaining a head injury is approximately 30%. Limb injuries. The probability of limb injuries is just over 50%. Spinal injuries. There's a 20% chance of suffering from a spinal injury. Foot injuries. The probability of experiencing a foot injury is 40%. Reduced injury probabilities from wearing protective gear. Helmet. Wearing a properly fitted helmet reduces the risk of head injuries by 69%. This means that wearing a helmet reduces the risk of a head injury from 30% down to 9.3%. Protective jacket and pants. These reduce the chance of limb injuries by over 80%. This means that the protective gear reduced chance of limb injuries from 50% down to 10%. This also becomes more important depending on where you are riding. If you are on the track, you would want your leathers with protective gear, and if you are on the roads, you still would want to be protected from the slide. Back protection. Wearing a back protector decreases the risk of spinal injuries by 65%. This changes the likelihood of spinal injuries from 20% down to roughly 7%. Protective boots. Over-the-ankle boots lowers the chances of leg injuries by 70%. This brings the risk from 40% down to 12%. Without any protective gear, the combined risk of sustaining an injury to any of the 4 areas listed above, being head, limb, spine, and legs, is 83.2%. This means that as a motorcyclist is involved in a collision without wearing any gear, they would have an 83.2% chance of getting seriously injured. In contrast, when a motorcyclist wears full protective gear, the risk of serious injury upon a collision is only 32.8%. As you can see by the math, this significantly reduces the overall risk of serious injury. Thus, wearing full protective gear reduces the risk of serious injury by 2.5 times. In my opinion, this highlights as to why you should ride with proper gear.